You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
A city in the South Bay is setting itself apart from the rest, but for some it is not in a good way, as many residents are struggling to keep up.
I can't afford to live here. I'm barely making it. Last month I was late for my rent.
The new report naming it one of the most unaffordable cities in the world. Plus, hands-on learning where a bus yard is the classroom. We'll show you how these young Bay Area students are getting an education beyond textbooks.
It is a skill, but it's a skill you can learn throughout time.
And she is a Holocaust survivor in her 90s. He is in his 50s. But the two of these folks call each other best friends.
They was like, she is so tiny and you're so big. And I was like, it's just a size differential, but our hearts are the same.
The story of this unlikely duo and what bonds them together. I'm Max Darrow. Those stories and more right after our news headlines of the day. A tentative deal has been reached to avert a Safeway workers' strike. This follows 5 months of negotiations and the passing of 2 strike deadlines this weekend. The agreement reportedly includes wage increases, more health care contributions, and stronger job protection language. Ratification votes among the 25,000 union members are expected in the coming days. The union said in a statement, "This is a hard-earned and inspiring victory. Because our members stood together, strong and unshakable, they secured a contract that reflects their value and delivers real improvements for their families and futures." Another tragedy on the Russian River this weekend. Crews spent Saturday evening searching for a man who vanished after jumping off of a rope swing near the Hacienda Bridge, just west of Forestville. He never came back up after hitting the water. It's now turned to a body recovery mission. This marks the 3rd drowning on the Russian River this month. Thousands of runners are taking part in the San Francisco Marathon today. The main marathon course starts on the Embarcadero, then heads through Fisherman's Wharf and the Presidio, goes across the Golden Gate Bridge and back, goes through Golden Gate Park before eventually ending all the way back at the Ferry Building, 26.2 miles in all. The full marathon kicked off bright and early at 5:15 this morning, but there are numerous other races happening throughout the day. The first half marathon, or the bridge half, began at 6:30. The second half, the city half, began at 8:30. There's also a 5K, a 10K, and a 1K as well. All of the races weave through some of San Francisco's best-known streets and scenic spots. So if you are driving somewhere in the city today, make sure you give yourself a little bit of extra time because there will be traffic impacts all over the place. A lot of events happening all across the Bay Area today. Let's get a check on our weather with First Alert meteorologist Zoe Mintz.
It's going to be a beautiful day out there for anyone heading out and about, maybe going to the Mets versus Giants game. First and foremost, I am jealous of you, and I hope you enjoy the mid-60s out there. There's going to be a good amount of sunshine this afternoon as the clouds continue to peel back. Those highs in the mid-60s. There still is going to be a little bit of mix of sun and clouds, but those winds will be anywhere from 15 to 20 miles an hour. However, if you go to Oracle Park often, you know that you're basically sheltered by the winds quite often. So if you're in direct sunlight, it might honestly get hot to start off the game. But with those temperatures cooling down by the later parts of the evening, it should feel really, really nice out there. Those highs this afternoon, again, are going to be pretty comfortable out there. And moral of the story is I want everybody to appreciate the fact that we are comfortable because there's 250 million Americans right now under some sort of heat alert or excessive heat warning. So the fact that here in California, all we're dealing with is small craft advisories, those little areas in pink just off the coast, it means that the waters are going to be churned up just a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit windier off the coast of California. But again, let's appreciate the fact that we have been below average because most of the country has not. This bullseye has been directly over California for the past week or so. These are our long-range model predictions showing our 6 to 10-day temperature outlook, likely below average in the desert Southwest, while coastal California back to near normal. So there are changes on the way over the next 6 to 10 days. So if you want to get out and about this afternoon, it is going to be a degree or 2 warmer than what you felt yesterday. You'll be seeing more of those 80s returning to our inland communities. Low 80s at that, still about 5 to 10 degrees below average for this time of year, but a couple of degrees warmer than yesterday. Upper 60s to low 70s by the bay, and then low 60s directly along the coast. Now, look at tomorrow. We are going to continue to see those high temperatures warming up a degree or 2. Even places like Santa Rosa, you might be reaching that 80-degree mark. Inland East Bay communities, Fairfield might be seeing those upper 80s returning, and down into the Santa Clara also seeing those 80s sprinkled in there. Areas by the Bay going to be back into the mid-70s, and then coastal communities still in the low 60s. The coast, you're not going to be changing when it comes to your high temperatures very much over the next several days. It's just those inland areas that are going to be going on a little bit more of that roller coaster ride over the next 7 days. So let's take a look at our 7-day forecast to kind of show you that, because today it's still going to be below average all across the Bay Area, low 80s, mid to upper 80s tomorrow, staying that way through Tuesday. There will be some breezier, cloudier, and slightly cooler weather that will arrive by Wednesday, warming back up to more seasonable by Thursday and into Friday, and then cooling right back down by the time that you step out into next weekend, 1 week from today. So it really is going to be a bit of that roller coaster inland when it comes to our temperature. But moral of the story is there is no extreme heat in sight. Upper 60s to low 70s for areas by the Bay, with early morning fog giving way to afternoon sunshine. Areas along the coast are going to be a little bit harder to see that sunshine, but there should be a little bit more of it sprinkled in there as we step out in the week to come.
We all know the Bay Area is an incredibly expensive place to live, but every so often some new data comes out that really drives that point home. In a new report from the Silicon Valley Pain Index, they found that in order to afford a median-priced home in San Jose, you will need an annual household income of at least $370,000. That makes it the most expensive large city to live in the country. Another recent study ranked San Jose as the 4th most impossibly unaffordable city in the world. Only Hong Kong, Sydney, and Vancouver ranked higher. Kenny Choi introduces us to a mom in San Jose who is feeling the brunt of this housing crunch firsthand.
One of the eye-popping numbers in the report, the cost to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in Santa Clara County increased by 90% over the last 10 years.
Rapidly rising rents have made it beyond a challenge for hairstylist Cassie Cook to find a new apartment.
100% it's getting harder and harder.
She works full-time at Cassie Cook Hair Designs in West San Jose, where she works and rents a 1-bedroom for herself and 2 children.
For a regular apartment complex, I feel like there's like 10 other people with better credit, you know, with the whole deposit, trying to get in to the same apartment as, you know, someone like me in the service industry.
The latest Silicon Valley Pain Index, published by San Jose State University, reports the average city renter needs to make more than $136,000 to keep their housing payments at 30% of their income.
I can't afford to live here. I'm barely making it. Last month I was late for my rent.
Besides rentals, the index report also highlights how the median home price in Silicon Valley reached $1.92 million in 2024. Michael Repka, CEO of DeLeon Realty, listed this Los Gatos home for nearly $4 million.
We're seeing strong demand both in terms of home sales, but also for rentals. Some people are finding it's expensive or it's cost prohibitive to buy homes because the interest rates are so high.
The house just sold this week for more than $5 million. More than $1 million over asking price with multiple bidders. San Jose City Council member Pamela Campos has been pushing for more affordable housing to prevent family homelessness.
The situation is dire, particularly for working families in San Jose who are under tremendous pressure because of these skyrocketing housing costs. We're seeing that many families cannot afford to stay.
Campos herself lives with her parents. As rental costs continue to rise, it's a struggle for Cook.
The difficult part is like everybody's trying to save money with prices becoming so expensive everywhere.
But she says there's no giving up, no matter how unaffordable the housing situation appears.
Recent estimates say the cost of living in San Jose is 81% above the national average. But you won't be surprised to learn this reality is not limited to San Jose. California was all over the top of the unaffordability list. In fact, out of the 94 housing markets studied, California had 4 of the top 10. The lowest ranked markets were Sacramento and Fresno, tied for 30th. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area on this Sunday, college may not be for everyone, but that doesn't mean there aren't other educational avenues people can go down. When we come back, we'll introduce you to the students spending their summer learning some seriously sought-after skilled trades.
I really like working with my hands because I feel like I get in a better mindset.
We'll tell you about the unique partnership between a Bay Area school district and Muni. Plus, we'll take you inside San Jose's last store that develops film. how developing interest from the younger crowd is actually helping the shop bounce back from the brink.
I feel like there's a craft behind understanding how to shoot on a film image that I really appreciate.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Happy Sunday. We're going to continue to see a bit of a warm-up on the way, but warm-up just means back to more seasonable conditions for this time of year, back into the mid to maybe upper 80s starting Monday and into Tuesday. A bit of a cool down Wednesday, and then back to more seasonable Thursday and into Friday, as there is going to be a lot more sunshine and a lot less windy of weather. But still, it's going to be a couple of degrees below average for our inland communities, as well as areas along the coast, staying in the low 60s with early morning fog each and every day, maybe a few more peaks of sunshine, especially later this upcoming work week. But along the coast, it's still going to be mostly that where's the sky July, with those inland areas really the only places that are feeling those slightly warmer conditions.
As students get ready for the upcoming school year and ponder their education, some may find the traditional college route just may not be the right one for them. So instead, they're finding opportunity in the world of skilled trades, and there does appear to be a growing need. One example, the American Welding Society says it will need 320,000 welding professionals by 2029. That's coming up pretty quickly. And to help fill the gap, the San Francisco Unified School District has partnered up with the SFMTA for about the past 4 years, giving students real hands-on experience working on some muni buses. Ryan Yamamoto gives us a look at the program.
Make sure not to look directly. My name's Thomas. I am an upcoming senior at Balboa High School, and I am 16 years old.
For Thomas Navarro, summer school takes place not in a classroom, but inside the SFMTA Muni Bus Yard, where he and his fellow students from the San Francisco Unified School District have grinded out the past few weeks.
Yeah, it is a skill, but it's a skill you can learn throughout time.
Taking the time to learn essential trade skills from mechanics to repairs.
Make sure not to look directly into it.
Even learning how to properly weld. For Thomas, it was like a light went off about his potential future.
So Thomas, why do you like working with your hands?
I really like working with my hands because I feel like I get in a better mindset, and I feel like I work better because I understand it better.
Let's see, what else you guys touch?
Malay Maloa has run the student program since 2020.
Some more airbags, so we got airbags all over the place.
And he says it's about exposing kids to more than just textbooks.
This is real world experience. Some of this stuff is actually a lost art. We give them their first exposure to our trade, the automotive mechanics, our automotive machinists, and our machining and manufacturing. There is a huge need of it. There's a lot of our trades that have been dying, and they haven't had a lot of intake at the lower levels.
And for Thomas, while he says he does well in the classroom, he now feels he has more options beyond the traditional route.
I feel like there is a lot of pressure for people thinking they want to go to college, but I feel like do what your heart tells you to, because it's like at the end of the day, you're paving your own road.
Students taking the opportunity to cut their own path in life.
This year, 10 students from SF Unified went through this program. In an age dominated by smartphones and digital cameras, a man in San Jose is proving that old school photography still does have a place and a very passionate following. Len Ramirez introduces us to a business owner who never gave up on film and now finds himself at the center of a surprising revival.
Tucked away in a modest storefront at 7th and Santa Clara Street, a rare piece of photographic history is still very much alive.
This is a film processor, developing the color film only. Before film, make sure temperature, everything okay. Okay, so then we close.
Henry Chang owns Photo Express, the last film developing lab in San Jose.
To 18 minutes to come to dry to dry, yeah. So we just load the film to the film processor.
For nearly 40 years, he's watched the industry transform from the heyday of film to the digital revolution that put most labs out of business.
I think this is a better exposure, better negative. I think 2000, there's a big drop for the film because that's a digital camera come out. So a lot of photo lab cannot survive from 2000 up to 2010. Then after that, not many lab around. So I think we just keep hanging there. So until now.
Henry says being a block from San Jose State helped save him because he had the photography student's business as a base, and so he never gave up on film.
I didn't quit because we still have to survive. I still have to support the family.
Keeping the business going hasn't been easy. One of the biggest challenges now is keeping the aging automated film developers running. Replacement parts are hard to find and often have to be sourced secondhand.
A lot of equipment, I was surprised, is not support anymore. So make it difficulty for the business to survive.
While color film is developed using machines, Henry still develops black and white film by hand, just like it was decades ago.
Some school, they offer the class. So if people like it, they take the class.
Today, a new generation is helping bring film back to life. Although film and developing costs are expensive compared to digital, young photographers like Dajiana Huang say film causes them to slow down and be better photographers.
I would use, the terms like organic, tangible when it comes to shooting on film. I would definitely say that. That's part of the reason why. There's something really special about it being like a photochemical process rather than, just a bunch of zeros and ones that are kind of mimicking this image.
They shoot on film, then digitize and share their photos online, blending analog patience with digital convenience.
I feel like there's a craft behind understanding how to shoot on a film image that I really appreciate.
Henry now employs 3 technicians, and on most days the lab is buzzing, a clear sign that his decision to stick with film wasn't just nostalgic, it was smart.
We've been in the business for almost 40 years. We just keep going,
In a city built on innovation, Henry Chang is thriving by preserving tradition. And as long as there's film to develop, he plans to keep those machines in that darkroom running.
So if you've got an old roll of film tucked away somewhere, Henry's Lab might just be the place to bring it back to life. The shop is located at East Santa Clara and South 7th Streets, just a couple of blocks away from City Hall and San Jose State. Still ahead, they swim together, eat together, even have a special handshake they've come up with. The encounter years ago that led to a special friendship between this unlikely pair.
She understands the hurt I've been through, and I understand the hurt she's been through.
Well, it's the last Sunday of July, and did you know that technically we have picked up measurable rainfall in downtown San Francisco during normally our driest month of the year? We have seen 0.07 inches of rain. I don't know if you would necessarily call it rain. It was more of a mist and a drizzle, but it was accumulating. It was measurable. So technically, we've seen about 6 to 7 times the normal amount of rain that we see in the month of July. Again, July normally the driest month in San Francisco. Normally we average about 0.01 inches of rainfall. So the fact that it has been so gosh darn foggy and the fog has been so thick and so much moisture attached to it that we have seen well above average rainfall for the month of July. Again, I hope you all have enjoyed yourself out there. Get us into this afternoon hours because we are going to be seeing a bit of a change on the way. There is going to be a lot less cloud coverage as we step out this upcoming week, warmer weather and less windy conditions. There is going to be a bit of a pattern shift, no longer well below average, but there is no extreme heat in our future, which is really great news. I'll let you know what you can expect in the upcoming week coming up in my full forecast.
Now to a story about an unlikely friendship between a 93-year-old Holocaust survivor and a man nearly 40 years younger. They met swimming and found that underneath the surface, they have a lot more in common than one might think. Kevin Coe has their story.
We're gonna eat Today is one of Miriam and Ronaldo's favorite days of the week.
She's gonna have a pancake.
Pancake?
Yeah.
For 3 days every week, 93-year-old Miriam Ofer and 57-year-old Ronaldo Thompson sit down for a meal on Clement Street. Their secret handshake requires a thumbs up. Years of tradition and friendship that started here at the Jewish Community Center of San Francisco.
You wanna go to the stairs? Yeah. Okay, here they are.
Ronaldo isn't Jewish, but his wife works at the JCCSF and suggested he check out the pool, where Miriam just so happened to be.
I was in the pool. She came in, swam up to me, said, "I like your smile."
Yeah.
And I said, "I like your smile."
Yeah.
And we've been friends ever since.
What is good in a smile? It feels good that you have a good feeling with the person who is with you.
Ronaldo brings Miriam to her swimming classes here 3 days a week. The 93-year-old is a Holocaust survivor who lost her family during World War II.
My husband passed away a long time. He was in the concentration camp.
Just last year, she started having some
Yeah.
memory problems, and she
Yeah.
couldn't make it here by herself anymore. So her son contacted me and asked me would I be willing to bring her.
Ronaldo was more than willing. As much as he caters to Miriam, she helps him too.
She understands the hurt I've been through, and I understand the hurt she's been through.
As a black man, Ronaldo says he's seen racism in some of its worst forms. And through hundreds of meals and car rides, he's learned he's a lot like Miriam, even if others can't believe it.
They was like, "She is so tiny and you're so big." And I was like, it's just a size differential, but our hearts are the same. So we relate, because we've been through these type of tragedies. We relate. The Jewish community and the black community got way more in common than they don't.
Ronaldo's big smile hides the pain he lives with day to day. He fell from a scaffold in 2005, leaving him permanently disabled.
Thank God I don't have to drive with this left leg. If it was a stick, we'd be done. It's just over here aching and throbbing, and it's running up my back now.
By the time Ronaldo is done dropping off Miriam at her assisted living facility, his back pain is at its peak. But life's challenges seem much easier to bear when you have your best friend along for the ride.
I'm just blessed that I get to have time with her now. I mean, I tell people all the time, I don't know why the Lord chose me to be able to hang out with her, but I'm glad he did.
Beautiful story there. Still ahead in our next half hour on CBS News Bay Area. Amid fears of immigration raids, a Bay Area soccer program is trying to keep their players safe.
That stress and anxiety has been really difficult for us to manage.
The kids and organizers are struggling to keep the ball rolling.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Max Darrow. Let's take a look at some of our headlines of this Sunday. A tentative deal has been reached to avert a Safeway worker strike. This follows 5 months of negotiations and the passing of 2 strike deadlines this weekend. The agreement reportedly includes wage increases, more health care contributions, and stronger job protection language. Ratification votes among 25,000 union members are expected in the coming days. Another tragedy on the Russian River this weekend. Crews spent Saturday evening searching for a man who vanished after jumping off of a rope swing near the Hacienda Bridge, which is just west of Forestville. When he jumped in, he never came back up. It is now turned to a body recovery mission. This marks the 3rd drowning on the Russian River this month. Thousands of runners are taking part in the San Francisco Marathon today. The full marathon kicked off bright and early at 5:15 this morning, but there are numerous other races happening as well. There's a 10K, a 5K, and a 1K, not to mention the 2 half marathons as well. All of the races weave through some of San Francisco's best-known streets and scenic spots. If you're driving somewhere in the city, we do want to give you a heads up. Make sure you give yourself a little bit of extra time because there will definitely be traffic impacts all over the place. On the campaign trail, President Trump promised supporters an aggressive crackdown on illegal immigration. It became a signature issue throughout the election, and since taking office, the president and his administration have tried to deliver on that promise. The approach has been very aggressive, and the message and the methods unapologetic. In March, he invoked the Alien Enemies Act for the first time since World War II.
That was a bad group of, as I say, hombres.
That declaration granted the president expansive wartime powers to quickly detain and deport people in the country illegally, so-called alien enemies. Under that law, more than 300 men, allegedly members of a Venezuelan gang, ended up in a notorious prison in El Salvador. Last week, a deal was struck to send those men back home to their native country in exchange for the release of 10 Americans jailed in Venezuela. But the controversy doesn't end there. There are still legal challenges to the president's use of the Alien Enemies Act. We're going to hear from a law professor in just a moment and get their perspective, plus the perspective of a local Republican leader. But first, we begin with members of the Japanese American community who are now calling for the act to be repealed. They say the president's use of the law was a gut punch. They were staggered, in part, because they thought history had already rendered a verdict here. They say the mood in the country today is eerily reminiscent of the months after Pearl Harbor. And as Devin Feely shows us, they fear the country is at risk of repeating sins of the past.
December 7th, 1941.
The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii by air.
A date which will live in infamy.
I don't want this to happen to anybody again.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone.
In March, all the Japanese kids just stopped going to school.
All Japanese within the coastal area should move inland.
By May, they were gone.
It's a terrible violation of civil rights. There's no question about it.
For Tom Izu and Susan Hayase, President Trump's immigration crackdown dredges up painful memories.
My mother's family was moved to Gila River, Arizona.
My mom spent her entire high school career in Poston.
Of how their parents and tens of thousands of other Japanese Americans were mistreated during the Second World War.
Some among them were potentially dangerous.
These are foreign terrorists operating on our soil.
All persons of Japanese descent were required to register.
And it's impossible, they say, not to hear echoes of that painful past.
I got a message. You better start packing now.
All of them, citizens and aliens alike, would have to move.
The largest deportation campaign in American history.
In the present day.
I can tell you this, these were bad people.
Being exiled to a concentration camp, that's a pretty serious assault on your personhood.
The couple is trying to mobilize opposition to the president's use of the Alien Enemies Act, the same arcane law used to justify the imprisonment of Japanese Americans during World War II.
Everybody should understand why it's wrong, and that's why I'm involved in this fight to abolish the Alien Enemies Act and to make sure people understand that this is against our Constitution on the most fundamental level to do this to people.
Since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
It has been more than 80 years since the Alien Enemies Act was last invoked. 14 American presidents have come and gone from the Oval Office, including Donald Trump himself, before dusting off the law in his second term.
It's bigotry. It's hysteria.
Former Congressman Mike Honda was an infant when his family was forcibly relocated to Camp Amache in southeast Colorado. He says it pains him to see the law weaponized yet again against another group of immigrants, especially after trying and failing to repeal it during his time in Congress.
Somehow we have to build a fire under people's feet and get them to understand that Trump has his knee on our neck.
Tom and Susan say they know there is little appetite, no real interest in the current Republican-controlled Congress to repeal the act, but have vowed not to suffer this injustice in silence.
This really resonated with Japanese Americans and made people really angry and outraged. It was like a nightmare come true.
A waking nightmare, they say, with the eyes of the world watching.
We are setting a standard for the rest of the world in the treatment of people who may have loyalties to an enemy nation.
And the judgment of history waiting.
We are protecting ourselves without violating the principles of Christian decency.
Devin Feely reporting there. Despite all the legal challenges, the Supreme Court has yet to weigh in directly on the core constitutional issue at heart here. We talked to UCSF law professor Bill Hing. He specializes in immigration law and doubts the high court will side with the Trump administration. Listen.
We're not at war with Venezuela. That's not been a declared war. They are not invading our country. There's just no evidence of that. And so I just don't see any basis for the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act. And I think that ultimately that's what the Supreme Court is going to rule.
We also talked to a Trump supporter and Republican leader of the South Bay. We asked him if he had any concerns about the breakneck speed at which the Trump administration is detaining and deporting people.
In the scope of history, obviously it depends on who writes it, what they say. But I think what's being done is what needs to be done to make our country safe and secure, and it's what the president promised when he ran for office. And to do anything less than to keep his promises on immigration would be a disservice.
Legal experts say it could take the Supreme Court a year or longer to tackle the central issue of whether or not the president can invoke a wartime law to accelerate his deportation campaign. With immigration enforcement raids across California, fear continues to spread, not just in homes, but on soccer fields as well. In Oakland, a nonprofit organization is trying to keep life going for the children of immigrant families that are facing the threat of arrest. But as Itai Hodge shows us, it is also fighting to keep its doors open.
In a city where soccer has started to find its footing is a patch of turf where every pass breaks a barrier and every goal counts for more than just the scoreboard. 14-year-old Roddy knows that better than most. His family came to Oakland seeking asylum, hoping for a better life.
It was very hard because there were days where we had nothing to eat.
For a while, things were looking up. Then came a different kind of pressure.
My friend came to summer camp twice before, but this year he was too afraid because of ICE.
Roddy plays for Soccer Without Borders, a nonprofit that uses the world's game to build community for immigrant kids. But lately, it's not just the other team they're up against.
That stress and anxiety has been really difficult for us to manage.
Ben Gucciardi founded the program nearly 20 years ago. Now he's facing a challenge he never saw coming. Families staying away out of fear of being detained by immigration officials.
I'm hearing that some of the parents have already had to talk with their kids.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of efforts to get Know Your Rights training information out and for parents to communicate with their kids about what to do.
2 massive ICE raids targeting farm workers turned violent.
With ICE raids making headlines across the country, that sense of dread has made its way here. And even though no agents have shown up at this program, Melissa, a longtime player and youth leader, says it's already having a noticeable impact.
Right now, I really don't see a lot of people coming.
The program is also facing a second blow. Government cuts have put a third of its budget on the line. And yet hope is still dribbling forward, with Roddy dreaming of becoming the next Lionel Messi.
I'd like to see him play someday. He's my favorite.
And if he's lucky, perhaps one day it'll be Lionel Messi watching this rising star from the stands.
Soccer Without Borders Bay Area boasts a 92% high school graduation rate for its participants. That far surpasses the average for Oakland public schools. Coming up next, they travel in a cooler bag and are carefully placed in the wild. We'll introduce you to the newest residents of the Presidio that are meant to replace an extinct species.
By bringing back this butterfly, we are bringing back more of what used to be here.
In the Bay
area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
In today's Project Earth, we have a story about a little blue butterfly that used to call San Francisco home. But about 100 years ago, human activity drove the species to extinction. As Juliette Goodrich shows us, though, this butterfly story is far from over. In fact, it's taking new flight.
At the Presidio in San Francisco, researchers, community scientists, and park officials gathered in hopes of filling a vacancy. Among the volunteers, students Candace Mills and Eva Driggs.
It's already perfect for them here.
Yeah.
Perfect home.
Super awesome.
From a cooler bag.
It's the last one.
Meet the new residents. Inside each container, a single silvery blue butterfly sipping on a cotton ball soaked in fruit punch Gatorade.
It took 30 years to restore these sand dunes. With these butterflies, a historic effort is now underway to restore another lost treasure.
As the morning sun warms up, the silvery blues will be released.
The first thing that we're going to do is put this mesh over and release it underneath the mesh.
The butterflies pop out, the mesh is removed, and they take off.
There.
Volunteers track their flight for about an hour.
By bringing back this butterfly, we are bringing back more of what used to be here.
Scientists want to see if this batch of silvery blues will take up residence and perform a critical function, once done by an extinct butterfly called the Xerxes blue.
We are expecting that the silvery blue will fill the gap that was left by the Xerxes extinction.
Before the gold rush, the Xerxes thrived in coastal dunes around San Francisco. It kept the habitat healthy by pollinating plants and serving as food for other critters. Rapid urban development destroyed the dunes, and that destroyed the Xerxes.
This is an iconic species that literally was the first butterfly or invertebrate to go extinct in North America.
Senior research fellow Darrell Capon is with the California Academy of Sciences. He heads up the project.
It's an opportunity to try to practice how we fix the environment.
At the Academy, tests confirm the closest living relative to the extinct Xerxes is the silvery blue. Not only that, like the Xerxes, the silvery blues living near Monterey also like cold, foggy weather, dune habitats, and deerweed. That's where they lay eggs. With permission, scientists brought some back to the Presidio.
You know, this is a pretty magical moment.
Phoebe Parker-Shames is a wildlife ecologist with the Presidio Trust. She says adding the silvery blues into the habitat builds resilience into a world that's facing climate change.
If 1 year it's too hot for a particular species and their population sort of has a dip, there's another species there that can help fill the same role.
So far this year, about 50 silvery blues were released. Eva and Candace saw one already laying her eggs on some deerweed.
It's really cool, honestly.
New hope taking flight.
Each released butterfly has an identifying mark. Last year, scientists released their first batch, and they are now spotting some unmarked silvery blues, which are the offspring. So some very promising results there. Today, we want to introduce you to a baker in Napa who has been selling home-baked pastries since the start of the pandemic. 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, however. But despite the challenge, she continues to live her passion. Suji Nam shows us how her community is now stepping in to help.
They're layered with butter. These are aged cheddar and green onion.
Simple ingredients.
They're very unique. They're very time consuming.
That Rory Kendall has perfected.
Lots of buttermilk.
You'll find her in her kitchen, rolling up her sleeves bright and early.
Every Wednesday now we have a scone production day.
Making hundreds of pastries each week.
We're a bake-at-home bakery, so everything we make is frozen, meant to be baked by our customers.
With a dream in one hand and a rolling pin in the other, she opened Rory's Bakehouse in Napa during the pandemic. As a baker, she stands for hours in the kitchen, something that is becoming more and more challenging each day.
It turned out that I had multiple sclerosis. So at the time I was diagnosed, it was shocking, but I was very mobile and totally fine. 18 months later, even though I'm on all the medications and doing all the things, I am losing my ability to walk.
And that is why next to all of her baking trays and utensils, you'll find her cane right by her. Candell can't easily lift her feet off the ground anymore, so she shuffles carefully around her kitchen.
As much as it's hard for me to admit that a wheelchair is likely in my future, and I need to make this kitchen ADA compliant because I am handicapped.
And that is when the community jumped in to help, donating money to help her soon renovate her kitchen for her physical needs.
How are you?
Madeline Karam is one of her many supporters.
It's our strawberry shortcake.
She is continuing, and she says, I'd rather transform this entire space, put a lot of money into making it work for her so she can continue to do what she's passionate about.
Even being able to walk to her freezer outside, she does not take for granted.
And we have a very stocked freezer here.
From making cookies to scones.
So this is our strawberry vanilla scone.
Nothing is holding her back.
Showing my kids really that anything is possible. It's gonna make me cry, but really, I just want them to know that if you have a dream, that you can't, like there are so many things that can get in a person's way and so many things that can stop you, but if you wake up every day and you just tell yourself you're going to overcome those things little by little, coupled with the fact that I have the most incredible support system, you can really overcome so much.
Pushing herself every day, baking through the barriers.
Coming up, hair can be an important feature that can determine how we feel about ourselves.
How two sisters are helping women with medical hair loss gain new confidence and feel like themselves again.
Studies show that nearly 2/3 of cancer patients undergoing chemotherapy do experience some kind of hair loss. But now, 2 East Bay women are offering new hope for them and for others with medical hair loss. Sharon Chin introduces us to this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award winners.
Morgan Moore and her sister-in-law Lee Hoff put their heads together to make a difference in women's lives.
It's important that we use the gifts that we've been given by God to bless the people around us.
Morgan, a licensed cosmetologist, and Lee, an oncology nurse practitioner, help women who lose their hair and self-esteem to cancer treatments and alopecia.
I see it as a way to give them their options and power back and control back in a very challenging time.
Sometimes she just needs a little lotion.
The pair started Morgan and Moore in 2022. The Vallejo business has customized medical wigs for about 100 women, and it fills a gap. Where most wigs are synthetic and for straight hair, Morgan and Lee offer a variety of human hair.
And so there was a huge number of women that weren't being helped, whether they had kinky curly hair or extremely wavy hair. And with the Bay Area being so diverse, it was just a lot of women not being served.
Oh yeah, the WPE.
But they found not everyone who needed a custom medical wig could afford it, and it's not always covered by medical insurance. So Lee and Morgan formed a nonprofit in 2024 called Inclusive Crowns. They raise money to give the wigs away. The first recipient, Kayla Betterina. The mother and special needs educator has dealt with alopecia all her life, but during her pregnancy last year, she lost all of her hair and cut herself off from the world.
I didn't leave my house last year. So she had canceled her wedding. She had stopped going to take her kids to school. She was just feeling embarrassed, and a little bit of shame around that.
A custom wig with human hair costs between $1,500 and $10,000 depending on texture and length. And when Kayla's insurance would not pay, Morgan and Lee gave her a free wig. That brush of generosity changed Kayla's life.
They gave me a lot of my life back just with that confidence. Having a lack of confidence and then having it rebuilt really affects your life a lot.
So far, Inclusive Crowns has provided free medical wigs to several women in need. Lee and Morgan also find joy partnering with other nonprofits to teach women how to care for them.
To be able to offer these women the opportunity to get a piece of themselves back so they don't have to look sick, so they can feel and look better is huge.
It's important to us that people know that they matter on a deep level.
So for providing free customized wigs for women with medical hair loss, this week's CBS News Bay Area Icon Award goes to Lee Huff and Morgan Moore.
Inclusive Crowns takes donations of money and hair. The custom wigs are made in Florida, but Morgan and Lee want to fund a program to help young women start their own businesses making the wigs. By the way, Kayla, who postponed her wedding last year because of hair loss, did get married this week. So congratulations to you, Kayla. And you can nominate a local hero for CBS News Bay Area Icon Award at kpix.com/icon. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Max Darrow. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and today's top stories.